Go.
Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. I am really excited to have Ronnie Nunn on the show. He is a 19-year NBA referee. He was director or head of officials for 5 years and director of development for 3 more. He is the man I always turn to when we need to have interpretations. We have a lot of questions about a lot of calls. So Ronnie, thank goodness that you're here to help us.
Well, I'm glad to be here. There's a lot of calls in this game, and they'll be interesting to fans about what should be the call, how do you handle that call, and then for the players to see, what should I do and not do in certain circumstances.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into the first quarter because we have an interesting question here with a Dwight Howard box out. It's clearly a mismatch, so there's already some things going on down there. But what do you think about this and how he very provocatively turns toward the basket for the rebound and makes contact with Gary Harris?
The first part of this play is really a small guy trying to defend a big guy in a rebounding situation. It really is Harris who is kneeing into Howard. Now, you would say, well, look, that's not a big deal. That's the small guy into the big guy. But that's where the problem starts right then. I would have liked a quicker whistle to say, I'm not going to let you knee him so he can wrap his arm around you, and then you could dig into him, which is almost the third part of the initial sequence. So these are the kind of things the officials need to be alert of more so you can stay away from more rough play.
Well, let's move on to our next clip because at the end of the first quarter, LeBron James always seems to be involved in some sort of block charge situation every game. I don't envy the refs at all for having to deal with this. What do you think? This was called a blocking foul on Jeremy Grant. What do you think about how this unfolded?
Well, in real time and in real life, from the position that the official was in, which is the slot, it's opposite the free throw line, he's seeing partially this play, but he's seeing it, but he can't see it well enough in terms of lateral movement. There is some lateral movement, but it is very marginal, very minimal. This should have been an offensive foul in my view. If you look at the defender's feet, he has his feet planted, and he never extends that foot beyond. He centers his body a little straighter, and yes, that creates the problem of, is this a block or a charge? But he's got his feet pretty well planted into a position to defend. It's not overly extended. So I think the contact really deserves what it looks like. So I would like to have seen an offensive foul on LeBron James here.
Okay, and that's another great explanation because, again, we're talking about legal guarding position. So there is always this myth that you have to have, completely squared up to the guy and your feet completely rooted on the ground for seconds before and staring right at the man. That's not always the key component of ascertaining whether or not this is a charge, right?
Right, exactly. And again, LeBron really didn't beat this guy. He didn't get his shoulders past the body, which is another key area for how a guy can sliver himself and get the call for him if he can get by the body. He never really gets by. And by the way, like I said, the centering of the defender, yes, it moves somewhat, but his feet are pretty well planted in the traditional way. He absorbs the contact. Let's not make it a major case. Let's call it like it is. The obvious is offensive foul, LeBron James.
Well, let's move on to the second quarter because we have, another one of these really hard to adjudicate calls where two players are jostling for position down low. And here's what I see. I'm just going to throw it out there before you even give your interpretation. The old pro trick, is to clamp down on the guy who's trying to box you out, clamp on his arm, hold it down there, and then it has the appearance of him sort of reaching in or instigating the foul when you're holding his arm down there. I kind of feel like that's what I see LeBron doing, and he's smart to do that because that's why they call it an old veteran trick. But what do you see here? And am I even close to being right?
You're very close to being right, and this is really advanced rebounding. LeBron can play various positions. In this case, he's a rebounder, and he knows both players have clamped in a way, and one has got to release. Usually, if the ball is going towards the outer side of the rebound, which LeBron is more apt to go get, the referee's looking to see if he's released to go get it. But LeBron is sharp. He likes the clamp, pulls his defender with him, and now they both go. And of course, by the time it's over, he's on the floor, and he looks like he was the one that was, so to speak, disadvantaged on the play. The play is a very tight play. I'm not going to blame the officials on who they get on this one. So when the ball goes up and your job is rebounding, you can forget about where the ball goes. You are looking for the two culprits to find out who's the guy with the hand in the cookie jar first. So it's a tough play, and I'm going to just throw that up as a jump ball type of thing.
All
And
right.
you can get anybody you want on that one.
All right, sounds good to me. End of the second quarter, we've got some more of provocative Dwight Howard movements. And again, I have, in full disclosure, I've been concerned about Dwight Howard and the way he's been playing in this series, being a real instigator of things. And that seems to be, he's taken on that role, I think, gladly. So we have a jostling for position down low. This seems to me a bit of a dislodging here. What do you think?
Well, it ain't a bit of a dislodging. It is a dislodging. If you grew up in the days when I was officiating, where you had Lakers, you had Detroit, you had Celtics, you had Bulls, this is a throwaway, and you stop this play just like that. You don't even wait for the ball to hit the rim. He already swings a guy out of position so he can get it. And then as a result, as he's going for the tip in or the grab for the rebound, he now gets an N1 for the contact at the top. I mean, that's the kind of play. That's not the type of jostling that's legal. That's an illegal box out. This is a throwaway. Get out of my way. I'm strong enough to get you out of the way. And all you do is pop the whistle right then, and the rest of it is going to be dead. The only thing coming up now is, do I need any technical fouls on somebody reacting to being thrown out? So this is a simple play. This Howard could have played in that era too, like many players could play in any era, the good ones. And this is a simple foul. We should have got it early, except we ended up giving him the advantage of that by calling something that is probably marginal altogether in the second part of this sequence.
Fair enough. Well, let's get to the second half because we got a lot of clips to go through, Ronnie. This was a kind of a strange one, which I think you might end up being able to convince me that it was actually a good call. But, it's not often that you see like a shot fake and one dribble sort of into a pull-up with a defender sort of running in front of the man, and then they call it an offensive. So what do you think about this? Was this a good call?
In my estimation, this is not a good call. The only way that you would get an offensive foul out of this play is if you really have an overt flail by the offensive player that is high and catches a guy up into the neck or something. He just flails and gets him out of the way, even though he was legitimately in the path of being, illegal. So what we have here is he turns his body. He's not in a horizontal position or moving the center of his body. He actually turns his body and his shoulder goes into the dribbler. And the foul is against the defender. I mean, it's a defensive foul. And like I said, the only thing that if they happen simultaneous and you had a player really off with his off arm offensively, push a guy completely and extend from elbow to wrist too, would you say, you know what, I'm going to go with offensive foul? That kind of play we don't want. This is a simple defensive foul. I think it was just too quick on the call and then probably thought about it and said, this is really a defensive foul.
I can't agree more with you on that one. So that's all we need to say about it, I guess. Let's move on to the fourth quarter because we got, again, a lot of these to go through. This one is a kind of a bang-bang quick thing. It's LeBron. Again, LeBron is very smart. He knows all the veteran tricks. He's gotten to the point of his career where he needs to use them, strangely enough, because we're not used to seeing a guy who had such amazing physical gifts have to, go to some of all the other things in your bag. Does he slide up underneath Plumlee a little bit here and get a little bit of a hip in there that would force the shot to be off?
Yeah, now we all know that Plumlee is not really a great offensive scorer. So you cannot, as a referee, say, well, look, if this was Kareem or is this some Olajuwon or is this some current player that, even an Embiid who has skills at the hoop, at the post. This is another subtle, experienced, highly educated, gifted, and talented play by LeBron James that is illegal. He gets under to show that he's really not in it, but he turns into a shooter, and he almost creates a little kind of a bend of body.
Let's move on to our next clip because this one actually in real time and even in the replay from the baseline on the far side really had me flummoxed for a while until I finally, got the high quality footage, went through frame by frame. But I just want to throw this out there because there's a really important component to the rule of why they call this foul for Anthony Davis, even though it seems like Millsap had disengaged and let him shoot the ball. So go over this and why this is such a clear foul and probably not even a judgment call for a referee.
Well, one thing about this play that is tricky is that you must stay focused and let this play completely finish by looking at the defender. You can always go back and get the offensive player for doing something wrong. Once you get the defender, you know what the offensive player can and cannot do. So this is another subtle move. In this case, it's Millsap. He actually turns his body into the shooter and acts like I'm I'm not even thinking about being legal because I haven't done anything wrong. Well, he has, because he's got himself in the landing area of a vertical shot movement by Anthony Davis. I mean, he's going up. So he's going up, and now he's coming down, and he catches the foot of Millsap and actually turns the ankle. Now, this has been a big thing in the NBA way back for a while, when players were getting away with this, and players, whether they were stars or not, were out for 3 weeks on ankle turns. The situation here is, this is a foul. I'm very happy they stayed focused with that. This is a good training piece, because this one looks so subtle that nothing's wrong until you see the ankle turn. And by the way, players do not want to turn their ankle on purpose. This is not a trick play by Anthony Davis. Nobody wants to come down and turn that ankle.
Fair enough. So we've established now that the rule is you have to allow the shooter to land. He needs to have enough air landing space to cleanly land without turning your foot over, certainly. And we've seen it with even less provocativeness. Maybe a guy's foot was in between the feet. They land, no big deal. But again, it's got to be called a foul because they did not give him proper landing space. So that's pretty clear, right?
Yeah, that's pretty clear. There's only one exception, is that if a defensive player is in his position legitimately and does not come forward, and the offensive player does come forward and it's short of an offensive foul, and he lands on this player and turns his foot, well, the defender never came forward to defend this shot, so therefore he's in legal stead. And that time a player comes down, he's on his own. So these are for defensive players that come into shooters, very subtle, whatever. And if they get in that area where he's landing, even though the offensive player is going forward, it is the culpability is with the defender.
Fair enough. Well, let's move on to the end of the game here, because, this was a tight game. A lot of things were happening, and the Nuggets were desperate to get the ball back. Rondo gets a really nice offensive rebound here, but then is surrounded in the lane, and he was probably in danger if he couldn't get out of there for a 3-second call. But they call a foul here on Torrey Craig, which I kind of was a little curious about. I didn't really see what the fuss was. What do you think?
We noticed the official on the baseline moves over. I would like to have them move over a little quicker, but he moves over because he knows there's a player with the ball who's being surrounded, and there's going to be some strip action going on. And it does go on, but guess what? It looks legal. And now all of a sudden we have another official that's good coverage from him as well, except when you're blocked out, and it appears he's blocked out because I can't see where the foul is that he sees. Now, maybe there's something on that third person that is open to him. But as this sequence played out from the cameras that they show you, I think this is a guess. And, sometimes you get frayed in a game and you think, it looks like it's, I don't want to miss something. And all of a sudden that moves into inventing something you thought you may have missed when it really didn't happen.
Fair enough. I'm going through this 10 times in a row back and forth, and I think I might realize that there is 3 frames where Torrey Craig has a left arm sort of kind of reaching in. I don't know if he makes contact, but the right arm kind of almost puts his arm around the guy's shoulder. It doesn't seem like it's a whack or any kind of force behind it, but I suppose the visual of that, I can find 1 or 2 frames where he's got his arm sort of on the right shoulder of Rondo. Perhaps that's all he needed to see to give him the trigger. So okay. I mean, I almost want to shrug that one off then and say that's either or.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay.
But I don't want guessing. I told myself that, and as a director, I've told officials, don't guess.
Okay.
But get there to see it.
Well, let's move on to later in the third. We got a zone defense, and they isolate Jokic on Caruso, and he goes to work. Caruso, interestingly, spins, puts his back towards Jokic to get back and recover, and actually works nicely to get him back in position. But they do whistle him for a foul. It looks pretty clean on the shot part of it. What do you think, Ronnie?
The shot part of it is clean. Here's the difference in some plays as you become better and better at officiating, even though we have the considered best out there at this time working these games, is the real problem with this game is big, small, in this little microscopic part of the game. We have a big small thing going on, and what Caruso does immediately as soon as Jokic puts the ball on the ground is he immediately puts his forearm out there to impede him. And now he knows, gee, I can't really hold him back. I'm going to run. I'm going to kind of spin and run and meet him over here because I'm really faster than him. So by the time he gets to catch up with him, the play is dead. And by the way, the play is clean. So there's a foul for the right reasons, but it's not the foul that we really needed from the start. That's what we really needed from the start. We needed an impede dribble and then realized that if we took care of that, we wouldn't have gotten ourselves in trouble on a marginal contact shot by Jokic.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I agree. You can easily see the arm bar there on the spin, and then after that, he jumps backwards, and it's fine. I actually wondered if the spin that Caruso does, which is very unorthodox, led him to believe that doesn't look right, and so we needed to call something. But in some respects, even though we got the 2 free throws, he was going to put it back in. It looked like unless Anthony Davis got over there, so it might have been one of those wash things where they get the 2 points either way. But yeah, I think that's a good interpretation where the whistle needed to come earlier. So, well, Ronnie, are you still sitting down because we got some more clips to go through?
I love them because that's about our craft and it's about basketball too, which I love both. I love the playing, the coaching, and obviously I made a life for refereeing, and I was better for it all. But yeah, let him rip.
All right. Coach. Well, this one I sent over to you because I was confused about it, but you actually found something else to be look at in depth. So we have a spin move by LeBron, a kick out, and then ultimately an offensive call on Markieff Morris, which is another one of those target on his back kind of things. It was a very strange call for me on this one. So, but tell us what you think about this whole play.
Well, the start of the play is LeBron's typical spin move, and we have to become more aware of this. This is actually the hop. This is a gather hop. It just looks more pirouette-y, because he spins with it. But it's the same jumping off the same foot in order to spin. There's a lot of great players that made this move without hopping. And this is a little an advantage gained by doing this, and this is what we have to get hip to seeing.
And it's illegal.
So, yeah, it's an illegal. It's travel. It's a travel, and we need to get this part like we get the regular hop travel. We've been doing much better with that. The spin hop is in the same boat. It just looks a little more flashy, and it could be hypnotizing because it's hard to think that a guy did that. Yeah. The second part of this play is, and in all fairness, I think the key to the second part on block charge is I really see it as a charge when I look at who's our defender on this one?
Plumlee.
Here's a big man who probably can't keep up with Morris, but he gets himself in a good position, a la the play we had on the other end, which, by the way, involves the same official. So Plumlee does move a little bit of the center of his body, but his feet are in pretty good place. And Morris is trying to get out of there, and he should have gone up the sideline a little bit more instead of more on the court. He catches him. Plumlee deserves the credit for the defensive posturing he has, and it should be an offensive foul.
Fair enough. Well, let's go to the fourth quarter where we have another interesting call where clearly no one's going to argue the foul call itself. Rondo reaches in and has a lot of contact, but they didn't count this basket. And I know the commentators had an issue with it too. It's certainly, walk us through what that rule is and why that you wouldn't count it, or maybe they should have.
Well, they should have, because this is a drive to the basket. This is different, although the emphasis is on these afterthought situations for shooting. We've got some great long-range shooters today, and they've become part of the fabric of basketball, long-range shooting. And so from the perimeter, you will see a lot of guys try to go into a shot after they hear the whistle, and we term that as an afterthought. But in this case, this is not so much an afterthought. This is a drive to the hoop. And he gathers the ball. There is no longer a dribble involved. He can't take another dribble. He's on his way to the hoop. The bump occurs when he has the ball cradled, and now he knows. I'm fair and open business for a shot attempt. And that's why all players that understand the game know this part of it. I would have liked to see our guy not be overly detailed on this one and just call the continuation. This is a continuation into a shot. So, this one was not correctly judged in my view. It's close, but I think we're better than that.
Yeah, well, that was a costly one for sure. A little bit later, we have another one where we have Jamal Murray going to on LeBron now, and he kind of crumples to the ground. And this to me was like, I don't know how you can call a foul on here, and certainly would poke holes in this notion that LeBron is protected because they end up reviewing the play and actually going with the call, the block call on LeBron. So, do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you the two reasons why I don't agree with it. One is LeBron does make contact early on. Murray can't get around him, but LeBron's also beaten him enough to where he can't get around him. So there is a little contact, and because Murray goes to the floor, one, that's not a criteria for a foul. Two is we have an official from long distance who's released that play to the lead, who's in right in there. He has no whistle on this play. So right away, you're looking at a guy, it's right down Broadway for him. He's in position and where he belongs to make a decision on the play, and he elects not to blow the whistle. I think because maybe there may be a blocking area in there on the camera that they can't see, they went with the benefit of the doubt towards the official. But this is a credible defensive play by LeBron. Murray goes down, but all players that go down doesn't mean that they necessarily were fouled. I would have just liked him to regroup himself, get the ball, and pass it back out to somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a lot of things in here that tell me leave plays alone that are not yours unless they are overtly missed by a colleague.
Fair enough. Well, this is the one that really kind of got me hot under the collar because it's a 3-point game, 3 minutes to go. Denver was sort of putting pressure on the Lakers the whole game to almost get control of it and win it. Jamal Murray turns the corner and has a step on LeBron. Murray has just been scintillating this whole series and really understands how to finish, understands how to use his body. The ball gets blocked. You see Murray really react. When you get a chance to go through the replay, what do you see here?
Well, if this is a blocked ball, it's very, 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 very difficult to see. And, I want to credit the guys for being in position. But this is one of those plays where you have got to referee the defender all the way through. Go back to the offense because he's obviously going to the floor. It doesn't mean he was hit. But in this case, if you referee the defender, you will see the swipe. So we talk about in New Hoops IQ swipes. When you swipe at a ball, you are vulnerable to missing the ball and hitting somebody. And it's dangerous to do that. LeBron takes a chance at it. He's a great shot blocker. We know that he can do that better than anybody. But he gets the arm of Murray. And this is a time I would have liked to have seen one of our other two officials come in and get this play. The play ends, the contact ends very late, if you notice. It's almost like Murray can't get it off. It's going to continue. We're going to get down the other end of the court. But the play is not done till these guys come down. And I think a little help for the lead official. He might have got overcome by the play and didn't realize at the end of it, or took his eyes away thinking it was over, and it wasn't. That's a foul in my view.
Sure. I mean, because people wanted to argue, well, once you block the ball, then all bets are off. But I don't think that's true either, right? If there's a continuation of that movement, you might get a little ball, but then you get the wrist. So that's always been a call for a foul, right?
Well, if you get the ball first in most situations, it has to be really overt contact that would make you say, hey, listen, you got the ball, but you got the body too. You got the ball and you got the arm too. It's just too much contact. In this case, I may have to put the glasses on, look one more time, because I'm trying to see, do we really get ball as much so. As are we really getting ball here, or are we getting a lot of arm? I see more arm in this play than I see ball. Now I tell you what I would stand back from is, did we have another angle somewhere that shows that the ball was deflected first? If that ball was deflected first, clearly deflected first, then the contact after is not enough arm to arm. Then there wouldn't be nothing. Body, maybe simultaneously you have something on a block shot or a part of deflection, but not on that.
Really?
So
now, because the other thing is, I don't think he gets the ball, but let's just say he got a little piece of the ball, but within a frame, he's now getting the wrist. It's like, I don't know if you, in real time, if your eyes could process that any differently anyway, right? It would have to look like, he's kind of getting, if you get the ball and the wrist at the same time, that's a foul, right?
Yeah, it should be. It just always depends on how much ball you got.
Okay.
I mean, and in this case, this is why I'm saying, this appears to me that it's a foul more than it's a contact with the ball for deflection.
Okay.
So that's how I see it, and that's probably how you see it, and most people might see that. But there may be a camera shot that shows this clearly ball first.
Yeah.
And the ball comes loose out of the hand, something of that nature.
Yeah. And that's how I see it. So that was a real turning point in the whole game. Now, at the end of the game, though, they're still fighting. This Denver Nuggets team does not give up. They are good enough to hang around there, and you got to be able to play the whole game against them. So they get Jokic on a turnaround three-pointer in the corner. I don't see how this is any different than what they called Millsap for with AD shooting the mid-range shot. It's pretty clear that Jokic lands on LeBron James's feet and should be called a foul and 3 free throws. However, let's just discuss this notion of LeBron sort of being there ahead of time and already establishing his position, and that would somehow make it okay that he didn't give him a landing spot. Is there any notion of that in the rule?
Particularly on shooters, we're always cautious. The culture of basketball is watch out for shooters and other airborne players like rebounders. And in this case, this is typical to where LeBron is right, defensively great. He's certainly within the cylinder of good defense, and Jokic goes up very nicely to kind of deal with what's questionable, but still may lean to good defense, except that when he does come down, for a guy that's not going forward, when he does come down on LeBron's foot. And the top of the foot is what turns ankles, not the toes. It's the top of that foot. And because, he doesn't turn the ankle, he's not noticed that he might have turned it. The official thinks it's a good play. It appears, even though from another angle, that he continually looks at it. That full court view of this shot is a great view to see, did the official look up and away for the shot too soon, think it was over? Did he follow LeBron's foot, which you can see the right foot is forward into the landing area? And it doesn't mean a guy's got to be hurt to call this play. We have had 99% of turned ankles here, or a limp by the player to know that, am I going to turn it or not coming down? But we've never seen one where the guy's on the foot and he comes out okay. Well, he's still on the foot. It's a foul, and we need to call it. Tough play, given the history of what we have seen and called fouls, to what this play we have not seen very often at all.
Yeah. And I would imagine the Nuggets would have loved to have had the 3 free throws, made them all. There was time for a stop and the ball back to tie the game. So that was huge. There's also a component of the right forearm in his waist area with a little contact on the way up. I'm looking at now from the far angle that you would think as a shooter that would have to be protected too.
Yeah, the only thing there is I think he doesn't extend the forearm much. I think he tries to keep it close to the body, which, by the way, is a movement we've encouraged players to do, even on drives to the basket, not to stick out like the hinge of a door, not to stick your elbow out to impede a shooter or a driver. Bring the forearm into your body. I think that's marginal, really. I think the real play on that is the landing. I mean, it's the top of a tough play, but the landing is important. He is in that space, and if we turn it around, I mean, these are both superstar players. So people get into that. Well, they gave it to him because he's a superstar, or one guy's more superstar than the other. Basically, just stay with the strike zone. If it's in the strike zone, it's a strike, and if it ain't, it's a ball. So in this play, we've got to stay with the mechanics of what we know and do. And this guy should have been on the line.
Well, I can't thank you enough for helping us go through these. I'm disappointed. If I were a Nuggets fan, I'd be really, really upset. I know that the teams have been going back and forth complaining to the refs or complaining to the league about the refereeing, which hadn't really bubbled to the surface to me over the first few games. But, if you wanted to accept the fact that the Lakers had complained about, LeBron only getting a couple free throws in the game before, well, who knows now? And we all know for a fact, right, that teams will call and will present tape of all the time about what they feel they're getting wronged with. So it's not surprising they did that, but I don't know. It's head scratching, and I guess I'm also greedy. I want more games. I don't want this thing to end in 5. I want 6, 7 games, right? And so you got to get. I think we need a little bit more of a fair shake on the referees on going forward.
Well, the guys have got to step up because there are a considerable amount of errors in this game. Uh, and players make us better. They really do. They play through, they convert through situations when we make errors and what have you, and they can make us look better than we are sometimes. I think, and in the games that have been happening in the bubble, they're like scrimmages. If you remember scrimmages in high school and college or whatever, guys come for real to play, and without the fans, they don't need fans when they come to play. And by the way, the bubble has produced some very aggressive basketball and good viewing basketball. So in this case, the fans are not in it. The guys are in it for themselves. We've got to keep up with them because they are playing and they expect the best from us. And this is a transition of leadership officials now, and they've got to step up and get better and get more experience and learn quicker on these little nuances of the game that are very subtle but illegal.
Well, thanks so much for breaking this all down for us, Ronnie. This was a titanic video to have to go through, but I think it was important. So, again, thanks for doing that for us, and thank you all for watching. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Ronnie?
I'm in, Coach. Great to talk to you about officiating, which is part of the game.